Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Andy's Witchcraft by me, Sacred Moon. I hope you're all having a wonderful day so far. Today's episode, we are going to discuss justice magic and how it differentiates from other types of baneful magic. Just a little bit. We're not going to touch too much on that because I already did a podcast episode on Baneful Magic. It features my friend Dahlia. And so that link will be posted below if you want to get a refresher or if you want to check it out for the first time. I'm going to put that below, and yeah, you can check it out. So before we jump into the concept of justice magic, let's talk a little bit about the concept of justice and what it is. Justice is, to put it simple, it's defined as the quality of being just, impartial, or fair. Or it could be seen as the fairness in the way people are dealt with. It means giving each person what they deserve, or in more traditional terms, giving each person their due. Now, for me, personally, justice magic is sort of a more quote-unquote passive way to practice baneful magic. And what I mean when I say that is that in baneful magic, you're taking matters into your own hands, really, to bring retribution to someone or something for having caused harm. You are doing the work for the person to get the karma, and you are using your energy to do it. In justice magic, or the way I personally practice it, I'm more so doing a spell or a working to petition my spirit team to bring justice to those who have caused harm. It's not me wishing harm on them in any way, no specific idea of like what I believe they deserve. Rather, it's just me praying that they get their karma in whatever way my spirit team sees fit. It's kind of like the saying, let go and let God, but in a more witchy way. It's a quote-unquote neutral way to practice baneful magic in my eyes. And of course, it's different for everyone, but this is my own personal experience there. But really, to put a disclaimer out there, neither of these, like justice magic, baneful magic, neither one is better than the other. They are both valid in their own ways and have their own benefits. It doesn't matter for me personally, and I'm going to talk a bit more about this based on my spiritual path and my craft. I don't practice baneful magic. I've done a baneful working once, but I don't practice it traditionally. It's not a part of my regular practice. But another disclaimer out there, no matter what option you go with, justice magic, baneful magic, whatever, please be sure to up your protection wards. Any spell involving karma and justice can backfire. And protection tools are your friend to help mitigate any negative consequences of it backfiring. Okay, so please do your research. Start with the simple protection stuff before going on to jumping to any baneful or justice workings. Okay? So now let's talk about some justice symbols and associations. These are ways you can set up an altar for justice, for your spells, tools, and symbols you can incorporate in your spells for your justice workings. So the first category we have is colors. And again, this is a wide spectrum depending on culture, your background, your ethnicity. We all have different ideas on what colors represent justice. But some of the options include gold, black, orange, dark blue, red, and brown. So typically these dark hues are associated with justice. The element of air is associated with justice as well, from what I hear. And herbs or essential oils that you can include marigold flowers. They're also called calendula. I didn't know that, but that's a cool fact. Linden flower, oregano, chamomile, ginger, high john root, blackthorn, juniper, oak, thistle, and vervain. These all are herbs that you can include in your justice working. It's also helpful to use tarot cards. So pull out the tarot cards and grab the following cards. You can use one or multiple of them, but these will be used as symbols to kind of manifest that justice. They include the Justice card, obviously, Judgment, Hierophant, Emperor, and High Priestess. And the runes of Tiwaz and Algiz are runes for justice and as well as a protection from harm, which can be seen as a form of justice, honestly. The planets Jupiter and Venus are associated with justice due to their Greek and Roman mythologies, I believe. That's kind of why they're the go-to. And the zodiac symbol of Libra. Libra is represented by the scales, and so balance in the world. It's therefore a great zodiac season to do this kind of justice work. Of course, you could do it all year long, but the energy of Libra season can definitely amplify that justice spell and give you a little extra boost. Deities and spiritual entities that you could use to petition for justice or work with for justice are Yahweh, Raguel, who is the angel of justice, Lady Inanna, Justicia, Zeus, Nemesis, Forseti, Gales, Lug, Themis, Astrea, Dike, Dike, however you pronounce that, Hecate, Tyr, and Maat. And so those are deities and entities strongly associated with the concept of justice and divine retribution. And finally, symbols. Symbols for justice include the scale, gavel, sword, the blindfolded woman, feathers. And the reason that feathers are associated with justice is because of the mythology around the ancient feather of truth. So bringing out the truth is a form of justice, but as well as angel of justice, angel, feathers, that kind of way. And then finally, the symbol of the all-seeing eye. So having an eye incorporated in your justice workings definitely helps see the truth, like let the truth be revealed and let others have their eyes opened to what this person has done so that they can get their justice. You know, there's lots of ways that the all-seeing eye can definitely help you in your workings. Next, let's talk about justice in the Bible. Now, this is a concept I'm very, very passionate about because due to how aggressive Yahweh was in the Old Testament, and there are a lot of theories about why he had such a change from the Old Testament to the New Testament. In the Old Testament, he was very vengeful, very angry, very murdery, to put it straight. And again, lots of explanations. Some people believe the God of the Old Testament is different than the God of the New Testament. Some people believe he had a change of heart and he just realized his ways were not the best, most efficient ways. And so he changed in the New Testament. But regardless, due to his depiction throughout the Bible, but especially the Old Testament, the concept of justice and divine retribution is a huge, huge theme in Christianity and biblical studies. And so studying the theme of justice in all of Scripture reveals important facts that I'm going to go through before jumping to Bible verses on justice. Now, if you work with or you worship Yahweh in any way, these are things that you should keep in mind when doing your justice workings. So they're kind of like three things to go over. Should I do a justice working for this situation? Is this right for me? Here are three things that you should keep in mind. Number one, biblical justice is not only about retribution for injustices committed. In its fullness, biblical justice is about the flourishing of all people. So you should ask, is the person going to learn? If I do this justice working, will the person learn, or will they just continue with their old ways? Because if they're just going to continue with their old ways, no point in wasting your energy to do a spell to bring justice. Is it going to help other people grow? Not just the person that you're doing the working on, but other people around them. Will they open their eyes? Will they change their views of this person? Will they agree that this person needs to be brought to justice? You know, if nobody is going to change, nobody's going to change the system or whatever. Do you want to use your energy on this situation? That's something that you should ask yourself. Number two, justice and righteousness go hand in hand. So where you find the concept of justice, you're going to find the concept of righteousness. And for those of you wondering, righteous is the quality of being morally right or justifiable. So ask yourself, if you do a justice working on this individual, is it morally right? Or are you just being petty? Is it justifiable? You know, you don't want to go do a justice working over a small breakup. Like the person broke up with you because of whatever small reason. Like let's say they broke up with you because they're moving away. Like, are you going to do a justice working to bring them to justice for breaking up with you because they're moving away and they can't handle the distance? You know, small things, small situations. Is it justifiable for you to do this justice working? And three, justice and righteousness flow directly from God's own character. So is it something that Yahweh or God is going to agree with? Is he comfortable? Like, remember, you're petitioning Yahweh. If you're working with him and doing the justice working with him, you're petitioning him to bring justice. Is this something that he believes should be brought to justice? You know, having these conversations, doing divinations, confirmations, like talking to him about it. Do a tarot reading, do a pendulum reading, whatever, to get that confirmation. Should I do this justice working? Are you okay with helping me do this justice working? You really want to get that confirmation and not just drag a deity into it. But also, I believe, in my personal opinion, you can never force your spirit team to do anything. So again, it's a matter of, if they're not going to do it, if they're not going to, you know, bring justice, you're wasting your energy on something that could be better put towards your own growth. So if a justice working is not going to benefit, maybe do something on yourself. A cord cutting ritual to help you break the bonds from this attachment, healing ritual for emotional healing for you. You know, use your energy towards something that is more productive for you. You want to grow as a person, right? And if your spirit team says, no, sorry, no justice working, even if you disagree, you know, don't put your energy into something that they're just not going to agree to, okay? So you can definitely petition and pray to Yahweh to bring justice and retribution in the world. And in fact, biblically speaking, it is recommended for you to do so. You know, all throughout the Bible, Yahweh says, you know, don't bring matters into your own hands. You know, if they slap your cheek, turn the other cheek towards them, right? It's because he will do the work. You know, you are innocent in this. Don't ruin your innocence for the sake of a resentment. Okay? So biblically, it is recommended to petition to Yahweh. Let go, let God. Let him handle it. Okay? And again, this is not to shame anyone who does baneful magic, okay? This is my own personal experience and preference and my own interpretation of the Bible. In fact, I have done, like I said, I've done baneful magic once. It worked out in my favor. It did not backfire because I had the protections and I talked to my friend Dahlia and got the advice I needed. And I know tons of Christian witches and Jesus witches who do practice baneful magic, okay? That's not to shame anyone. It just is not a regular practice of mine. And it's because I just feel more connected to the concept of justice, to letting my spirit team, especially Yahweh, handle anything that I want to let go of, any resentments, any justice that I believe needs to be sought. And also the Buddhist nature of my practice. And we're going to get to the topic of justice and Buddhism very shortly. But because of these two spiritualities of mine, I just prefer to do spells and give offerings and petition my spirit team to do the job for me. I want to surrender my anger, surrender my pessimism. I just can't handle it. My mental health will deteriorate if I take matters into my own hands and put all this anger energy into a baneful working. And so, yeah. But on top of all this, I believe in the concept of moral relativism. So morality is not universal, okay? And so what one person considers to be moral behavior is going to be dictated by culture and upbringing. So there are multiple valid ways to be a moral person. There is no one right way. And because I don't know the one right way, I'm just going to let my spirit team handle it. Because again, you want to think, is it the morally justifiable thing to do this justice working on this person? The truth is, I personally don't know because it's different for everyone. I'd rather just let my spirit team handle it. You guys do it. May this person be brought to justice in whatever way, and just let it be. All right? It's worked for me. I'm going to keep doing it because that's what's working for me and that's what I want to do. So moving on, if you want to use Bible verses in your justice magic workings, here are my personal Bible verse suggestions. There are way more than this. Again, justice is a huge, huge topic in the Bible. But first up, we got Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17. Learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead to the widow's cause. Next, we have Amos chapter 5, verse 24. But let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. Next, we got Proverbs chapter 21, verse 15. When justice is done, it is a joy to the righteous, but terror to evildoers. Then we have Psalm chapter 33, verse 5. He loves righteousness and justice. The earth is full of the steadfast love of the Lord. Then we have Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 17. I said in my heart, God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time for every matter and for every work. Then we have Leviticus chapter 19, verse 15. You shall do no injustice in court. You shall not be partial to the poor or defer to the great, but in righteousness shall you judge your neighbor. Then Deuteronomy chapter 32, verse 4. The rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are justice. A God of faithfulness and without iniquity. Just and upright is he. Then we have Romans chapter 12, verse 19. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God, for it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, says the Lord. Then we got Jeremiah chapter 22, verse 3. Thus says the Lord, Do justice and righteousness, and deliver from the hand of the oppressor him who has been robbed. And do no wrong or violence to the resident alien, the fatherless and the widow, nor shed innocent blood in this place. And finally, Matthew chapter 5, verse 6, Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. So that is the end of the justice in the Bible, like biblical interpretations of it. And now we're going to move on to justice in Buddhism. So in Buddhism, we use the word karma. But what exactly is karma? Well, first, let me tell you what it isn't. Karma is not an action itself. People often get confused thinking that karma refers to our actions, but it's not the actual action at all. Karma instead is the compelling urge to act. So if you get an urge, even if you don't actually do it, that urge will determine whether you release positive or negative energy, or neutral energy, of course. The urge is going to cause us to act, and it is a mental factor that is always accompanied by 3 other mental factors. The first is distinguishing. So we distinguish an object from within a sense field. So this person as opposed to that person, or this object as opposed to that one. And then the second is intention. What do we intend to do? So we can either intend to hurt someone or help them. Then third, there is an emotion that goes with it, like anger or love. We want to hurt someone because we're angry. We want to help them because we love them. That urge that brings us to commit the action is karma. So if you get some negative urge to act, that's a negative karma. That's releasing negative karma, and it's going to have to be made up for somehow by releasing positive karma to balance it out. So that aside, that's the beginning of the Buddhist concept of justice. It all revolves around karma. Now, justice in Mahayana Buddhism can be interpreted based on 3 fundamental insights. 1, justice needs to be seen as the achievement of mental balance. And balance in this respect is the mediation between cognitive and emotional qualities of the mind. Again, that balance between our distinguishing in our intention and then the emotion that comes with it. We got to balance between all 3, and it gives us that urge, that karma. It can be understood on the basis of overcoming the kleshas, or mental defilements. Now, the most fundamental mental defilement is called avidya, which means ignorance, misconception, misunderstanding, incorrect knowledge. And it's regard to the status of the ego. If the ego is seen as an isolated entity that has to fight for its place in society, which is a huge misunderstanding of justice, this is wrong. And it's going to lead to cravings or desire so that the ego can establish its illusion by possessing or attempt to possessing what it desires. When it doesn't get that, it gets frustrated, and the hatred would be the result. So justice is the realization that the individual is totally dependent on their cognitive and emotional thinking. So with regard to that, justice is saying that we deserve a certain place in society. No, it's not. That's what people think it is. You know, we deserve this treatment as opposed to that one. This tree, we didn't deserve to be mistreated. So we want to reinstate our status by bringing that individual to justice. But this is not, in Buddhism, this is not the correct way to go about it. We don't bring someone down to lift us back to where we were. Instead, we want to let go of that craving of what we deserve or what we should have gotten. We are dependent on each other. The self is an illusion in Buddhism. And so our perception of ourselves depends oftentimes on those around us, how we fit in a society at large, how we are with other people, how we are with the universe. Now, we don't want this ego to fight for its place in society. That's the wrong way to go about justice, according to Mahayana Buddhism. Now, instead, the dependency is realized in the most basic concept of what's called pratitya samutpada, or the codependent origination. It's the belief that we're all interconnected, all phenomena are interconnected, and if all is interdependent, then justice has to be a proper recognition and behavior that things or people are given their proper place. Now again, we don't want to bring someone down to restore that proper place, but we want to elevate ourselves and elevate our own being. Which is why, when it comes to my justice workings, I petition my spirit team. I let it go in their hands. You will restore balance. You will bring everything to the proper place. I don't want to bring anyone down. I don't want to lift anyone up. I'm just going to focus on myself and my own enlightenment, and that's it. In Mahayana Buddhism, justice is the realization of our Buddha nature, which is innate to all sentient beings. In this sense, justice is an attitude and an action to look at and treat all sentient beings with due respect, regard, and love, because they all have the same Buddha nature. It's not about what that person has done, but what they are capable of doing. Again, Spirit team is going to restore balance. They're going to bring justice. They're going to make sure that that person does what they are capable of doing. Okay, they're gonna bring that person up. They're gonna bring us up, back to where everything should be. Now, justice is not an act of human goodwill or political expediency, but it's also a response to reality as it is. Yeah, so how do I feel? This person brought me down. Okay, now what can I do about it? I'm going to gently acknowledge that this is how I feel, this is why, and I'm going to try to let it go, and I'm going to restore things for myself. I'm not going to rely on external factors. I'm not going to rely on anger and, pushing and shoving and forcing. It is resonating with the ultimate structure of reality and being in tune with the universal interrelatedness of all beings. Now, in Buddhism, karma and the intentions behind our actions comes first. So, Buddhists, again, believe in karma. All our volitional actions, our urges, have consequences. And it's not for us to know how any person's karma will play out. All perpetrators of violence have the capacity to awaken. Now, what they need to get that lesson, unfortunately in life, we have to hit rock bottom to realize that we're doing something wrong, and we have to find a way back to enlightenment. But that hitting rock bottom is up to the universe. It's up to my spirit team. It is not up to me. It's not up to that. So, again, that universe, my spirit team, they're going to help me. And it's not up to me. Now, what does this mean exactly? How does it apply to my spiritual practice? Besides what I just said, I got to put everything that I can't control in the hands of my spirit team. Other people, other actions, even my own thoughts. I find that I can't control my own thoughts. And this comes with being diagnosed with mental disorders. My brain literally is dysfunctional and I can't control it. So what do? I have to put everything in the hands of my spirit team. This feeling of anger and resentment, it happens when I feel someone has wronged me. Now, before I found Buddhism and made a vow to follow the Buddhist path, I would get so angry and frustrated. I would want awful things to happen to the people who hurt me. I would do whatever it took for them to feel the way that I felt. There's nothing wrong with that if it helps you heal in your own way, because it helps people sometimes. That way of thinking helps people sometimes. But it was not healthy for me personally. I know lots of people who live happy and fulfilled lives this way of holding on to grudges and using that to motivate themselves never to feel that way again, and finding ways to love themselves more, knowing that they do not have to sit in misery. And that is great for them. But it's just, for me, I noticed it made my mental health issues worse. It made me more miserable. It made me cling to substances. As many of you know, if you've listened to my other podcast episodes, I am an alcoholic. And that was because I held on to this anger for so long. But ever since putting things into the hands of my spirit team, ever since just, doing justice workings as opposed to baneful workings, and just letting them bring justice to those who have done wrong, my mental health has done a whole 180. It's just done a whole rotation. And following the Buddhist path of not doing harm, not wishing for harm, wishing for justice, not harm, huge difference there. Doing return to sender spells. And if I feel really like more drastic measures need to be taken, sometimes I cave in. I hire other witches who sell Baneful Magic spells and ask them to help me. I make sure they do thorough screening and they don't just do it for money. But again, I make sure that at the end of the day, their intention behind doing baneful spells is to bring justice, is to restore balance. Because again, that's how it is. And the more I talk, the more I realize, in baneful working, you can petition other deities and spirit team and like your spirit team to help you. Baneful workings isn't only you doing it. That I feel like might have been misinterpreted earlier. But just what I'm saying is, in justice workings, I'm not doing any of the work. I'm not putting in any of my energy besides putting in the spell as an offering and a petition to my spirit team. I'm not using any of my energy. Whereas baneful workings, you want to put in your anger. You want to put in that negative energy. In fact, it has been recommended to me that when you're doing a baneful working, you shouldn't do cleansing beforehand. You want that negative energy to fester. Whereas in justice workings, you don't really want that. You want to cleanse, you want to let go, you want to say, just restore balance in whatever way. Doesn't have to be positive, doesn't have to be negative, doesn't have to be hurting the person. I just want balance and I just want to feel good again, okay? So let me just put that out there. That's kind of like that main difference between justice and baneful workings in my interpretation. So with all that being said, now I will give you some tips for justice magic, okay? Number one, you want to create a sacred space, a safe space. Now do this however it works for you. It could be saying a prayer, setting up an altar, reading a poem, listening to music. You want to just create a sacred, safe space and do some cleansing too. You want to cleanse that energy for justice workings because you just want to let go and say, bring balance. And cleansing is the first step to restoring balance. Number two, you want to call in your spiritual allies, your spirit team. Goddesses, gods, angels, jinn, fairies, spirits, dragons, whatever. Whoever you work with, surround yourself with their protection and ask them to call for justice for those in need. Now, I personally petition Yahweh and Kali to do all my justice workings. Kali is really, really good for justice workings. I should have added her to the list. I forgot about that. Sorry, Kali. But yeah, she's just an amazing, amazing part of my spirit team, and I absolutely love it. She just helps me feel grounded. She gives me a reality check, and it's just really great. Number 3, you want to meditate on justice and raise your energy. Now, justice is an abstract concept, so to raise magical energy, we need to think about how justice feels, how it looks, how it acts. You want to reflect on how to personify the qualities of justice. And so you want to think, what does justice look like for me? Okay, what do I want out of this? Number 4, ground your energy. So you could touch the ground, consciously let any remaining energy go into the earth. Again, letting go of that energy, sending off that desire, that petition to the universe, to your spirit team. And then 5, give thanks. So say thank you to the allies you've called in, thank them for bringing justice, and thank them for helping you on your path. Now, let's talk about specific ways to practice justice magic. So I told you guys about my tips, but these are specific tools you can use that are justice magic. Number 1, you could do a justice simmer pot with the herbs that I've listed before. So just, let that be the offering. Let that be the petition to the universe. Number 2, you can light candles to your deities and ask them to bring justice. That simple act is good enough. Number 3, you can make a spell jar with the herbs and crystals that I've listed before, and carry it around so that no matter what happens, no matter who does harm, that desire, that petition for justice will be there with you. Number 4, you can add a return to sender element to your protection wards. So this is the intention that whatever negative energy people send to you, it goes back their ways. And ingredients that give that return to sender intention are lemons, chili peppers, black candles, just writing that intention on a piece of paper. So write that it is to return unwanted energy. Those are just a few return to sender elements you can use. Next, you can draw sigils and runes for justice. Draw them on your wrist, draw them around your room, your space. Write down the name of the person who you believe needs to be brought to justice under the rune or sigil, and that will be your intention as well. And finally, doing exercises to strengthen your clairsentience. Now again, like I said before, justice is to detect lies and bring out the truth. And clairsentience can help you with this task. Clairsentience means clear feeling. So feeling clear. You can see everything. Your eyes are open, your spirit is open. And so you may be asking, how can I strengthen my clairsentience? Well, here's a quick exercise to practice. You can hold an object that someone wears regularly, like a watch. All objects that someone wears on like a daily basis or a near daily basis absorbs their energies. So if you're clairsentient, you can tune into this energy residue, holding the object in your hand for a minute or two, and you can pick up on whether you sense, do I sense a lot of strong positive energy, strong negative energy, a little bit of each, neutral, so like neither. You will pick up on that. And you may be able to get more details on the type of energy it is holding. So that's just one quick example. You can obviously Google more or read books on it, do research. Those can help you a lot too. And with that, this episode comes to a close. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode on Justice Magic. I hope you learned a lot from it. If you have any questions, you can just reach out to me on social media. That's going to be in the link tree below. If you're listening to this on YouTube, you can obviously comment your questions and I'll get back to you. So if you're listening on YouTube, give it a like, a comment, a subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, give the podcast a follow so you can get all the updates on when I release new episodes. Besides my social media, you can also join my Discord server, Crystal Caverns, a group of witches from all paths of lives. We have monthly events. We chill in voice channels sometimes. We give each other advice. We ask questions. We share updates on our craft. And it's just a great way to stay connected. So definitely join. That's going to be in the link tree below as well. If you have an idea for an episode you want to hear from me, there is a Google form in the link tree below, and you fill it out, and then I'll do an episode on it whenever I get the chance and do enough research if I have enough knowledge on it. I would love to hear your suggestions, and thank you in advance for your support. And finally, if you want to support me financially, I have a divination reading business. You book it using the Goldie link in the link tree below, and then you send me the payment via PayPal. That would be a great way to support me, to help me, help you as well. I find that I enjoy these readings, and I enjoy the feedback I get from them. And I'm always around for if you have more questions about the readings you buy from me and stuff like that. But with that, I will close off this episode. Thank you for listening to my spiel. I love and appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. Blessed be everyone. Have a wonderful day, week, month, and year.